What's going on, everybody? David here. Today we're going to talk about the White House strategy when it comes to stimulus checks. And there's some good news and bad news, so we're going to go ahead and talk about that. But first off, on this channel, we talk about personal finance for travelers. If that sounds like something interesting to you, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the little bell notification so you can get future updates on my videos. So before we talk about the White House strategy, I want to talk a little bit about the May 13th deadline. So you have a May 13th deadline for anyone who wants to enter their banking information. So if you want to enter your bank routing information so you can receive direct deposit, the 13th is the day that you have to have it in by. So you want to make sure you go over there and do that. I always recommend doing it a day or two in advance, because if you wait till the 13th, you could have some problems with that system. And we know people have had problems with the system before. So make sure you get your information in there. That way they don't have to mail out a paper check to you, because if they mail out a paper check to you, you might not receive it until September. So make sure you go over there. If you do have bank routing information, enter that bank routing information so they can direct deposit that over to you. So the other thing I want to talk about is SSI recipients. They're now letting me know that they're starting to receive their direct deposit pending. So it's telling them on May 13th that they will be receiving their direct express direct deposit to them. So their money will be coming in, their stimulus check. And so that's great. That's really good news. And that's what they said. And I put it out a couple of days ago that May 13th is the date that they said that they were going to be sending out direct deposits. But now it's confirmed, because you have people who are on SSI starting to get this information in their account, so they know that the money should be coming. So now we're going to talk about the White House strategy. So right now, and we'll go over, we're going to look at the computer for a minute. I want to show you a couple of quotes, but it's interesting how the White House is playing this right now. So we've heard chatter here and there that we need to wait, we need to take a pause, and now Sunday, that's pretty much their talking point. They're out there now saying we need to pause. We need to pause. This is too premature. So we need to see what's happening with the current stimulus package and then move forward from there. So they don't want to make any decisions in the coming weeks. And that's unfortunate that they're saying this. However, we already know that Nancy Pelosi is putting a bill together, and they will probably be voting on it. Hopefully this week they'll be voting on it and then passing it and sending it to the Senate. So we know that the wheels are in motion. Now the White House is just telling us, hey, we need to hold off. But they are not legislators, so they don't have any power when it comes to this whole situation. They can't control what happens in the House or the Senate, so they just have to kind of just say, hey, we shouldn't do anything right now, but we can't stop you guys from doing something right now. And so that's pretty much where we are when it comes down to it. But I do want to go over to CNN Politics and look at this article here. Now, these are actual quotes. So CNN, I don't care if you watch CNN, Fox, MSNBC, these are quotes coming from the actual people. Okay, so as far as Steve Mnuchin, he basically said that, and they asked him the simple question of, do you think stimulus checks or direct payments to Americans is something that will happen? And he basically said that on Sunday that it's possible. Okay, so that's a good sign that he's saying it's possible, right? Because that means that it's still on the table. And he says right after that, it's one of the things that we are considering on the list. So they're looking at this list, and they have a list of all these different things that mainly we'll talk about the House, because they're the ones that have these proposals and pretty much are ahead of the Senate when it comes to creating a bill. So they're doing the negotiating right now. And so they're looking at the list and they're saying, okay, yeah, it's possible. This is something that can possibly happen. So by Steve Mnuchin putting this out here, I think it's a really good possibility that we will see another stimulus check, because he's saying that it's on the list and they're considering it, which means that it's probably a strong consideration, because there are other things on that list, and he's not saying anything about some of the other things on the list. But if you mention that, then you're kind of putting yourself out there, because if it doesn't happen, then people are going to say, well, you said it was on the list and you said it's possible. What happened? Why are we not receiving money, basically? So I think by him mentioning that, there's a real strong possibility that we'll receive stimulus checks, or at least the White House is on board with stimulus checks. We already know the House is going to be on board, because the Democrats want it and they control the House. We just don't know about the Senate at this point. And so that's the good news. Now, the bad news, and I mentioned it already, but the wait and see. So the wait and see strategy, we don't want to do anything right now. We just want to wait and see. We'll see what happens. That kind of attitude might really, it might put us in a worse situation, because obviously we saw unemployment numbers on Friday, and 20 million more people are out of work. And in May, it's supposed to be just as bad, if not worse. So we're in a situation where it's time to act, because if you don't act now, then it's just going to get worse and worse, and you're going to need more to put out that fire. And so I don't know exactly why that the attitude of the wait and see. If you already, and maybe there is a situation, we don't know what the negotiation, how it's going, and maybe there's some things in that negotiation process that is something that they need to wait on. I don't know, for whatever reason, maybe they need to wait on certain things in order to know, okay, this is what we need to tackle at this time. But we know state and local governments are really, really suffering right now, which means it could potentially mean layoffs for government workers, local and state. So we already know that could happen. So even more people can be unemployed. And usually this has been affecting more. It hasn't really been affecting the government workers. It's been affecting more the private industry. But we could see it start affecting government workers, government pensions, and things like that. And that would be even a worse situation. And the whole attitude of the White House right now is wait and see, and let's get back to work. That strategy might not work, because you have people losing their jobs, so they're not going to be able to get back to work. And the people who are going back to work, they're facing, we just saw in the White House just this week, 2 cases of coronavirus. So not only are they going back to work, but they're going to be a little uneasy. Like, they're going back to work, but they're still, we all know the coronavirus is still around, but we would think the White House should be the most secure place in the world when it comes to the whole coronavirus thing. So it's a really tricky game that they're playing, I think. And I'm hoping that cooler heads will prevail, and we'll have a situation where the Speaker of the House sits down with the White House, sits down with the Senate, and they kind of really hash things out and say, yes, we do need to move forward right now. Maybe even if you want to move forward with half of what you want to do, get money to the state and local governments, get money to the people with a stimulus check, and then worry about some of the other things in another bill, kind of have one bill signed now and then another bill signed maybe in a month or two, and maybe that would be a stimulus check in this first bill, and then a potential stimulus check in 2 months down the road or something like that. But something definitely needs to happen right now. And so I'm hoping that this week, once we start seeing the bill come out from the House and we start seeing what's in it, hopefully the White House will say, okay, yeah, we do need to move on this, because things are not getting better. The fire is not going down. The fire is actually starting to rise. So let's say you put some water on a fire, it goes down a little bit, and then you see it starting to rise up again. That's where we are. And I know one of the arguments is that some of the people on unemployment, they're receiving more money on unemployment than they received when they were actually working. And so there's no incentive to go back to work. Well, I can understand that, but you have to understand too, unemployment is temporary. It's not a permanent job. So if I'm in a permanent job and I'm making whatever money that I make, and then I get laid off and I go on unemployment, and now I'm making a little bit more than what I was making in my regular job, I understand that unemployment is a temporary thing. And so I'm going to spend accordingly, right? I'm not going to just spend money thinking, oh, I have a check coming every month, because I know that check is not going to be coming every month. So I'm going to save a lot more, or at least try to save what I can, because once that money runs out, I'm not guaranteed that I have a job. And so I might have to go into that savings. Whereas if you're receiving a paycheck every month, you're working a regular job, receiving that paycheck every month, then guess what? You're probably spending according to that, because okay, next month I'll be fine. I can go ahead and spend, on hobbies and things like that, because I know I'll have money coming in. I can go to the restaurants, I can go bowling, I can go to the movie theater. I can do these things because I know I have money coming in. Whereas if you're receiving unemployment, even if you're receiving more, you're probably going to be saving saving money when you can. You're not gonna be splurging and going to some of these places. And so all that stuff stimulates the economy. If you're going to all these places, it stimulates the economy. So even if you're on unemployment, doesn't mean that you're going to stimulate the economy because you have more money in your bank account. It just means that you're probably going to be saving a lot more because you know that that's going to run out at some point. And so that argument, I hear it. And I mean, I can see it is a little frustrating when you look at the numbers and people are saying, wow, I'm making more money on unemployment than I made in my regular job. But I think the way that you spend that money is a little bit different. But I want to know what you guys think. This is a real important topic that we're talking about right now because we're potentially looking at receiving another stimulus check. But I think most of us would probably say, hey, I want to get it sooner than later. I don't want to have to wait another month for them to decide to give us a stimulus check and then have to wait a couple more months to receive that check, or at least one more month to receive that check. So let me know down below what you guys think. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.